Ready? Okay. Welcome, everyone. So happy to have you here. My name is Jeanette Mulhern. I'm currently the Early Childhood Education Department faculty who's serving as department chair currently. And I'll let my other faculty colleague introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Iris Diamond, also full-time ECE faculty at Cosumnes River College. Really happy to be sharing this time with you.
Thank you. So I'm going to start the presentation, but I do want to let you know that any time along the way, should you have questions, should you need me to pause, I want you to feel like we are responsive to what your needs are as we kind of go forward. If you have any clarifying, there will be a question and answer session towards the end, but I find that oftentimes as we go through, are when the questions pop up. And so that's totally okay for you to either unmute and just say, hey, and let me know, or if you know how to do a digital hand, raise a digital hand. And I know Olga and Iris will help me with things that are on the chat or to give me those signals in case I moving forward. So early childhood education, we also have elementary education and family all in the same kind of department. We go across a couple of different disciplines. Currently we're in ECE. So if you happen to go to the Los Rios website and you're looking at CRC classes, we're in ECE, but we also have FCS, which stands for Family and Consumer Science. That's where one of our classes lives. It's our lifespan class. As I go through, one of the things I like to say is, we welcome those future educators to our program. We also, there's a couple things that our department does. Largely, we work in teacher preparation. So those who will be working with children as young as infants. So we say 0 to 5, all the way through preschool, and then also through elementary school. So those are your kindergarteners all the way up. Our focus primarily is kindergarten through age 3. That's our specialty, because then you get to a little bit of older things. But I will tell you that that gives you a great foundation for elementary school through the K through 6 classroom teacher prep. Additionally, students who move through our program are interested in child development as their major and perhaps moving on to university and studying child development and education. And that's where they get the foundational knowledge where they can transfer in to the CSU or UC and then finish their bachelor's degree here. At our program, we offer certificates and AA degrees, which are 2-year degrees, and I'll go over what those degrees are. Last thing I listed on here that we consider part of our department is the Child Development Center on our campus. We work so closely with the teachers that are there and the other staff members within the Child Development Center, and it is an integral part of where we collect video observations of our students or in-person observations. And then also our students have the opportunity or option to also do their practicum work at the end of their program. This is a Japanese proverb that says, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. And we really do hold close to that premise with the idea that there is book knowledge that is part of our discipline, but also that practical hands-on experience that we provide for students through faculty support, and then also through their opportunities to work as teachers, as interns, student interns. This is one of our practicum students out on our beautiful campus at CRC with some of the children from the Child Development Center. So I'm going to talk primarily about teacher preparation at CRC. I'll also be talking about the study of child development. And so I'm curious just to find out from you all. You can do this by, if you're able to use the chat, if you're in a place where you can put something in the chat. I'm curious to know your ideas of when you think of ECE or early childhood education, what sort of careers or jobs come to mind? There might be some obvious ones, some not so obvious ones. So go ahead and put in the chat. And if you prefer to just tell us, go ahead and unmute, and you can also just share that way. So I see someone put teacher assistant. Absolutely. What other jobs in early childhood education? So I'll help you out on this one. So there's a number of jobs that we prepare students for. The teacher assistant was such a great response, and thank you for the person who provided that, because at the end of our smallest certificate, really teacher assistance is the role that an early childhood education major can walk right into either a private or publicly funded program. These are your Head Starts or your state preschools, and then also at other childcare, in-home childcare, private childcare centers. They'll be prepared to be a teacher assistant at that time. They can also complete their AA degree and be the teacher of record, meaning that they can be alone with the children and they're not the teacher assistant, they're the standalone teacher. But I also want you to think about all of these other possible career paths that also early childhood lends its way towards. Preschool teacher, working with infants and toddlers. So these are more specialty. A home visitor, that's really, Head Start has a really big home visitor program. As an educational consultant, as a child life specialist, that's working within the hospital or pediatric settings, really translating the ideas of early childhood education and development to the other clinical practice people. Paraeducator is usually in the elementary school. These are people who work alongside children that are kind of pushed into the classroom, elementary school classroom, and they work, sometimes we call that an aide, right? An elementary aide. Special education is, again, a focus, working with children with special needs. Early intervention is actually finding that. So you can see a number of different other careers that we could go into in more specific, but we want to let you know that there's many different career paths besides just being an assistant teacher or a teacher. I'm going to move forward just quickly because my slides have this really slow transition that I don't remember putting on my slides, but here it is. One of our real goals is to support the well-being of children and families in any sort of position that we have. And so being teachers is the most logical position where you have direct experience directly with families, directly with children, and you're able to enhance their life and make that life just a little bit better. I really believe that in early childhood education, we can be a huge change in individual children and families' lives, but also it causes a ripple effect through the rest of the community. When we're thinking about age groups, one thing that we may not realize is that we're supporting the entire family, infants, toddlers, preschool age children, and elementary school. So that's a really pretty broad age range that we focus on all of those different age groups. So this is a little bit of information for you, is that for every dollar that's invested in early childhood education, it yields $7 to 17. So if you think of that as multiplication, $1 in equals the benefits, the social benefits for children and their families are 7 to 17. That's a pretty high investment. And if you think about that as if I gave some money right now and I knew that in 15 years, I would have 7 times that amount of money, or almost 20 amount of that, that's really significant. And so it really does drive an emphasis on the critical nature of early childhood education. Just checking in. Olga and everyone, just seeing that we're doing okay.
Yep.
Let me give a little pause.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Just want to make sure that I'm not going off and you're confused or need any clarification, or I missed anything. So what makes a good teacher? We could probably spend an entire semester, definitely an entire class together talking about this, but there are a number of qualities and traits of great educators. And when typically asked about this, I like to ask students, and you can reply in any way you want. You can put it in the chat. You can kind of unmute and let me know. But if you had a favorite educator, like what was the qualities of that educator that you remember? And by qualities, I mean, and traits, I mean, maybe they were patient, or were they kind? Did they have a skill set that maybe made them your favorite teacher? Perhaps they were great at reading stories to you when you were young, something like that. So I'll just kind of collect if anyone has ideas on some of those qualities. And I always like to include this too, if you didn't have an educator that kind of was your inspiring educator, maybe think of what quality you have that you would bring to education. I'll tell you a couple of mine. Yeah, so nice, kind and storytelling, nice. Teaching in a fun way, yeah. Here's a couple of mine. I like a teacher who's thoughtful, kind. One other thing I like is flexible. Yeah, friendly, right? We can't underestimate the idea of friendliness, being responsive to people, showing up for them on a human basis, right? Oh, a leader, I see that. And then an expert, right? Yeah, you want someone who knows what they're doing. And these are some of the dispositions or traits that early childhood educators have. Here's a little bit of some word clouds with some of the answers that we've taken from our students in the past. You can see that some of your things are here: caring, or similar names: caring, leadership. I love the idea of engaging or inventive or innovative or nice. Passionate often comes up, right? We want somebody who really loves what they do, their work with children and families. And as we kind of go forward, we're going to continue to have kind of these qualities that make teachers good, that all of us can pretty much get around. Yes, that's a good teacher. But going forward, there's going to be some specific needs for educators to be able to adapt to a new age of thinking, right? So innovative is kind of a good term for this, but one of the things that I will add to kind of this list is being able to have multiple languages and being able to be culturally relevant to their children. So understanding backgrounds, or at least being open to understand and let the family and child lead. So CRC is the acronym for Cosumnes River College. We're considered the Hawks as our mascot. And so you might be wondering why CRC? And this was a decision that Iris Diamond and myself, when we took full-time positions, we had to decide, did we want to be at CRC? And both of us did, for a lot of different reasons that are similar to what is here. ECE at CRC is really unique in a lot of different ways. We love teaching at CRC. The full-time faculty and part-time faculty love teaching. We love our students. We have a number of programs that we work really hard to that are extra work for us to coordinate and everything, but we do it because we know how important it is for our students. So we have embedded student supports. We call them mentors or peer educators, and about 20 to 30% of our ECE students use the peer educators program, which means that beyond their teacher, it's somebody to call and review your assignment with, or ask them how do I get started on this paper, or, things like that. And just having somebody who's also a student alongside you, who has just a little ahead of you in terms of coursework, can be so helpful and really connect each other so well. I won't go through all of this, but there's lots of different things that CRC has to offer that are unique to us within the college. We also utilize our Child Development Center lab, which is on our campus, for a number of different things, including student observations, and then as a practicum or clinical practice. And that's really where you can see in this photo here, this is one of my practicum students, the students towards the end of their program, as they're playing with the children, and they are a student teacher. And we have lots of placements, just so you know, beyond our Child Development Center at our campus throughout the Sacramento region, where students can be placed or use their work site. But we want our students to earn degrees and certificates at CRC, and I'll go over what those certificates and degrees are briefly coming up, but did want to make sure that you saw a video that gives you kind of an idea of what our program at CRC looks like. So let me make sure I'm doing audio too. All right.
I graduated from Franklin, and right away I already knew I was going to Cosumnes River College. I've heard really good things about it before, like at the programs, the teachers get really involved and they help you a lot. And that just really challenged me, so I really enjoy learning about different activities that you can participate with the children, and I really love that.
ECE is so much more than just sitting down and reading books. Just being in a classroom setting, getting to know that there's so many different behaviors of children and knowing how to work with each individual child. They teach me so much about learning processes.
Our college students, once they graduate with their AA degree, likely will be either working in a Head Start, state-funded program, they can work in a private child care program, or even become a director.
I want to graduate at Sac State with a bachelor's, but I want to go on to get my master's. I'd really like to be a college professor.
I'm in the program for site supervisor, or for the AA for transfer to Sac State. I looked around, I knew that I wanted to stay in California. And then as I researched, I found out that Sac State is where I wanted to go, as far as where I would find good education for teachers. CRC had a really strong bridge program that would make it that much easier to transfer over.
We got to learn infant development, child development. Those ones definitely dug deeper into what you already know every single day, such as like when a child's gonna walk, or when they crawl, or when they start talking. It's just everything just makes sense.
The Child Development Center has 3 classrooms, 2 preschool and a school-age classroom. And in conjunction with the Early Childhood Education Department, We have students that come through and do their lab hours, so they're learning to become teachers. And those students do approximately 7 hours a week in the classrooms, learning from the staff teachers that we have here.
What's the rules of the game? You both do it at the same time?
In the lab class, we observe them of how they interact and work with the children. And then that's where we take what they're doing with the children, and then we try to learn it for ourselves so that we are able to interact with the children.
When you set up something for a child to do, you set it up so it looks like a play area. You set it up so that way when the child sits down, he or she can know exactly what to do without being told. It'd be not adult guided.
We offer opportunities for students to also come and observe children. We do have an observation room. We have a lot of learning materials for the students in our math and science and language and literacy class. One of the very, very popular classes is the creative projects class. And students are doing clay and painting in a variety of different ways using different media.
The professors here are so hands-on with you, and they give like really constructive feedback as well. So for me, I grew as a person just coming to just the 4 semesters that I got here.
It was fun experience just playing games with the children, and it's like, you get paid for playing with children? How awesome is that?
When you come here, you're gonna find someone who's gonna be able to support you, whether it's the students, the teachers, or just the program itself. You'll be able to immerse in it, because it's just really fun.
You get to see the aha moments. You get to see the children developing, and you're right there when it clicks and they get those concepts, you know, so it's really exciting to be part of that, and rewarding, very rewarding.
Okay, so you got a kind of a glimpse of our program and a certain time period, but it did give an overview of kind of many components of our early childhood program. These are our certificates and degrees. At the top are our AA degrees. You can see we have 3 different ones, and they kind of, one is a transfer degree, has a little bit less early childhood education, and other ones are immersed in early childhood education. As you kind of go down, the rest are certificates, which go from 16 units all the way up to 36 units. And then you can also see that we have a transfer degree for elementary ed teachers specifically. So where do you start if you were starting? This is our lowest degree, the associate teacher. So some of you mentioned a teacher assistant. These are the classes that we suggest for students to be a classroom assistant. You start with what we call the core classes, ECE 300, which is an introduction to early childhood education. And then child development, child and adolescent development. This class is a prerequisite, meaning that you need to take it first before many of our other classes. And ECE 314, child, family, community. Those kind of start you out on those first 3 classes. And then ECE 326 and 320 are kind of the next step. But this is our smaller certificate. I will just point that out. What we find is that students start here and then they start adding on the higher degrees, the higher certificates, because they fall in love with the early childhood classes.
This one is to be child assistant?
Yes, that one's to be an assistant. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I have for you here a QR code that will take you. So if you have a screen, but I also probably can put it, Iris, would you mind putting in the chat our ECE website, CRC website in the chat?
I will take care of it.
Thanks so much. So if you prefer to click on the link, Iris is going to put that in. But if you happen to have a cell phone and can pick it up in your camera mode, you can click on it and it will take you right to the early childhood website. There's a lot there, including different program maps, what courses based on those degrees and certificates that I gave you. There's contact for all of us faculty members, a little bit more about our program in written detail. I do want to highlight one of the things that's unique about CRC is that we have wraparound services, meaning that we have a basic needs and care center, we have housing support, and we also are the only community college in Los Rios and also in the northern area that has a family resource center as well. And I'll tell you about that. I did see Aaliyah's hand, so I want to make sure I get to that before I explain a little bit here.
I want to know how, which level we can apply for early child education classes.
Which level? Do you mean which English level, or do you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
because I'm a student of ARC and 55 grammar and writing, and that's why I want to know.
You're ready then. I'm gonna let Olga, are you there, Olga, to address this? I know you addressed it in our last in-person one.
Sure. Yes. So for the ESL, we would love for students to be at least at the 50 level to be able to be successful in these ECE courses. Technically online, it advises somebody to be at a good English level, but it's not required. But in order for you to actually be successful in it, we suggest at least 50. And also one thing that we're going to offer is this summer, we're going to do a 4-week training of ESL that will be specifically for early childhood education. So it'll be a 4-week fully virtual training. It's going to be June 5th through June 30th. So if somebody is interested, I'll put that link in the chat in a little bit. But that training will specifically prepare you to be successful in ECE classes in the fall.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sorry. Is that a training? With ECE 320 or no?
Is the training what?
Include ECE 320?
No, the training in the summer is going to prepare you to take the ECE classes.
Oh,
okay. And this is online or in person?
Online.
Online. Okay. Thank you. You will put it in chat and I will take a copy. If it's possible, I will take it. Yes. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks. Those were great questions. Any other questions? I see Aaliyah, your hand's up. Maybe it's still up from before. Oh, thank you. Okay, just wanted to make sure that you didn't have a follow-up question or anything. This right here is a different QR code. So I know I'm doing them back to back, but to the Family Resource Center. CRC offers the Family Resource Center, which has a free support specialist. So we have a dedicated support specialist that helps students who are, I like to say, raising families. Oftentimes these are student parents, many times mothers. And some of the, so Emily Salgado is dedicated to supporting students in this way, helping them with enrollment, navigate the campus, online and on ground. We also offer free diapers, wipes, formula, which is always so great to be able to have because those are expensive. We offer family-friendly events. In fact, May 4th, we're going to have an event that's a STEM night, science, technology, engineering, and math play date. So what are the concepts in early childhood that work across STEM, right? So how do we start that with our youngest children? And what you'll find is that so many things that children do naturally are really preparing them for future careers in STEM. And then one thing I wanted to highlight here is that we have a stay in play space. This is a space that's unique to our campus where students can study on campus. There's one side that's it's a beautiful space where they can study. And on the other side is a classroom where we have a teacher that's there so that they can play with the children while their parents study. I'm going to include just the link to specifically the Family Resource Center there. And I think Olga's going to you're going to do ELL a little bit later. Is that right, Olga? You'll put that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we really hope that your future is at CRC, and that if you're currently with us, which I know that there's a couple people who are still within our program, that you continue to add those classes, work on those degrees and certificates, and move up as it makes sense to your journey. Want to give my, we'll do questions and answer, but I do have my colleague Iris Diamond here, and I want to give her some time. Should there be anything else that you want to add or reinforce, Iris?
Well, I think one of the major changes that we've made, and a conscious change that actually started prior to the pandemic, was our shift to what's called a zero textbook model or open educational resources. If you're pursuing your courses with us, for the majority of our classes, you will not need to buy a textbook. Our reading materials, all of the video, everything that we want you to have, we're embedding in Canvas for you. So when you, no textbook cost. So when you sign up for one of our classes, you are signing up for the whole class. We give you everything that you need to be successful, which includes access to us. I can't stress enough that one of your best keys to success is talk with your professors. And we're here. I mean, I don't think there's any of our students who would say that we're not accessible. And there to help you. You know, the beauty is we've been through this. I was a community college student myself. I'm a graduate of Sac City College's program and then went on to university. So I get where you are. I've been there too. Let us help you be successful at this. So zero textbook costs, and talk with your professors because we are here to support you. Please, please, we want to meet you.
Thank you, Iris. Well said. So this is where if you have questions that have kind of bubbled up, because I know I've kind of moved quickly through some of this content, where I'd love to hear your questions, wonderings, input, anything like that.
I have a question, sorry.
Yeah.
In fall 23, I will take 320 for observation. I have a baby 4 months. Do I need to apply for childcare in ARC or just I have my place?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that does come up when you are doing 320. She's talking about ECE 320, which is first of all, congratulations for being at that level. Means that you've passed a lot of classes to be there. On our campus, in order to qualify for 320, you need to either be co-enrolled in ECE 326, so meaning enrolled at the same time, or have already completed ECE 326. That's the observation and documentation class. That class is so critical to the work of teachers. I just mentioned that because sometimes there's not always that knowledge, and I hate when students are able to get into 320, but they didn't think to get into 326 if they still need it. But your question about childcare, we do have students placed in a number of different locations throughout the Sacramento region, including about 50% currently our students are placed at the Child Development Center at the CRC campus. But right now I have practicum students who are placed in Gold River, in Carmichael, Antelope, you know, all sorts of places. We have community placements, and sometimes they're placed at their own work site if it qualifies. But you cannot, unfortunately, bring your children with you to practicum because you are working on for 3 hours, 2 days a week within the program, and so you need to be focused on those children.
Sorry, not with me. I'll put him in childcare in ARC.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, and so so you're looking at. Do you already have childcare set up? Is that?
Yes, I already have.
Okay, yeah. And then at specifically CRC, we're working and it's coordinated through the NEST program and our Child Development Center, is we have some stipends for our student parents too that work towards their childcare cost as well. So make sure wherever you put your child in care, even if it's for a short amount of time while you do a practicum or something like that, that you look for those opportunities to reduce your childcare costs. We know how expensive that can be.
Yeah, thank you. I have another question. Can I do my observation in preschool near my house, or I have to do in college?
Do you mean observation in terms of the observation course?
Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah, that's 6 hours a week.
Oh, okay. So it's not observation. You're actually working as a teacher within the classroom as a teacher assistant. Yes. So it's yeah. So it's sometimes you can get placed in places where you're already employed, or we have some community placements in like across the region, which are from our regional mentor program. And so students have to request and say, I would like, a mentor, and I want them in the Antelope area. And if we have a mentor in that area that's available, we connect you to. But it can't just be any center, because what happens, and it's just a college thing, that you need to have insurance either through the mentor program or through our child development centers or through being employed.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I know it's one of those technicalities that I can't take away. Aaliyah, I see your question. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question that we take this training in here, or maybe we will take a classes. And after that we finish this class and we become a paraeducator or like teacher assistant. We have to teach an ARC schools, or no, we can teach any schools or any district.
Yeah, so good question. So we're preparing early childhood educators to work in a number of different ways. So the small degree that I showed you, the one that's 16 units that I kind of showed you what classes that are, it prepares somebody to be a teacher assistant in Head Start classrooms, in public classrooms. What the public classrooms are like your state preschools, state infant and toddler centers, early Head Starts, and also private programs, family child care programs. Am I leaving anyone out in that, Iris? I don't think I am.
I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah. So we tried to do the preparation so that you're prepared for many different settings. And honestly, our employers are always asking us for our students. They love our CRC students. They feel like they come in the classroom with just the skill set that they need to be able to be successful with children and to be really warmly welcomed into their settings. And so we constantly have people asking us to send out information, and we use a digital bulletin board now that provides all that information for students when they're ready to be employed. But it's also my understanding that Olga, through this program, they also have some additional support in terms of employers. Is that right?
That's correct. So if anyone is part of Refugee Career Pathways or wants to be part of Refugee Career Pathways, then we have caseworkers who are able to help with securing employment. So if anyone is interested, then by filling out that form that I sent earlier, that's the same way that when we contact you to ask about enrolling in classes, we will also tell you about the resettlement agencies that we work with and the different employment opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And because I took a training of paraeducator training for about, yes, that was like you said, 16 hours or like 2 months. 2 days a week. I took for 2 hours, and it was my starting that I learned English. That's why I didn't pass the test, but I took the training for 1 month. I have the certificate of training, but I didn't pass the test because it need a 8th grade math and about high level writing and reading English. That's why. And that school told me, if you pass, you have to teach only in this school. That's why I'm thinking, because that was the time I was in a rental house. And I say, if I move from another place to another place, it means I will go and take this program again and again. That's why this question's for me.
Oh, I see what you mean. So the para-educator test or something like that is outside of our typical like preparation, meaning that we're not teaching to a para-educator test, right?
Okay.
That's something that is designed by perhaps the school district and said, like, here's the minimum competencies in order for us to hire someone. We of course have specialization. For example, have specialization in infant toddler. And I had to do some special add-on classes onto my own degree as well to be able to be that. And so that's sort of like what you're talking about, the para-educator. Although the foundational courses and actually doing the work with children is what we're focusing on. And I can understand also that English language is, that component of the test is probably a hard part of that. That's why Olga has mentioned about the English language. I mean, I'm super excited to hear. This is something that has never been done. And so the idea that summer, the ESL teachers, those who are working with students whose language is, their first language is not English, and are doing an abbreviated program over the summer, that's super exciting. Yeah. And one of the paths that you can take. Great. Do you want to talk a little bit about that program more, Olga, or?
Sure. Yeah, so this program that we have planned for the summer, it's going to be June 5th through June 30th. So it's a 4-week training, fully virtual, just because we know everyone is in different places and sometimes can't get childcare and things like that. So fully virtual, and the goal is to help you start learning that vocabulary. I can't pronounce things today. The words that you will use in the ECE classes. So I know that usually ESL is general ESL, right? But this one is specific to taking ECE classes in the fall. So then the ESL instructor who will teach it, they're already working with other ECE instructors to make sure that they know what information, what are the basic things that somebody would need to know in order to be successful in an ECE class. And that training is free. There are no requirements. You just need to be an English language learner. So you don't have to be necessarily part of Refugee Career Pathways. So anyone who's interested can join.
Love that. I mean, that's just such a nice consideration to, especially for those who are at the level where they just need a little bit of, I think of it as self-esteem, right? Like a little bit of like, oh, okay, I know these terms, and I can build from that. And we very much love having students with multilingual, bilingual in our program. We know that those make excellent teachers. It reinforces who's actually in our early childhood settings in the classrooms. And so it is an extremely sought after quality in an early childhood educator is to have experience with multiple languages too. So I think that I only have one slide and it's like a quote or something like that. So I don't have anything else beyond that, but wanted to open it up for questions again. Oh, good, Iris. You have
I wanted to jump in there because Zainab had shared in the chat a question that she had. Great question. Just to make sure, does the no textbook cost rule apply to all the ECE programs, or is it for specific ECE certification programs? Let me say this again. This is for our campus, and this is a push that our campus has made. It's one of the things that our department looked at even prior to the pandemic, making education equitable and accessible to everyone would also mean taking out some of the major costs, which are textbooks. So we deliberately went out seeking and being parts of different meetings and coalitions, developing what are called open educational resources so that we can provide a zero textbook cost. Now, when you come to our campus, and I'm just talking about Cosumnes River, when you come to our campus, it's a big push on our campus. Our president of our school is behind this 100% because he realizes this is part of the obstacles a lot of people face trying to get a higher education. You may be able to sign up for the classes, but now you're going to have to buy another, several hundreds of dollars worth of books. So any way we can take down another barrier from you getting your education, which the books can be, then we want to do that. So almost any of them, are there only like 3 or 4 classes now at this point, Jeanette, that actually need a textbook? And even for those, I think the library's covering them, right?
Yeah, so all of our classes have online resources or curated resources that are at no cost to students. And so if there is almost always a section of our class that is zero textbook, if not all of them. And I'll give you kind of an example because I think summer is a real good example. These are CRC summer classes currently. And if you see that little symbol in the corner that has the $sign and the X, that means that this class is not using. And sometimes they're not even updated. So Iris, I think you're using it and they just haven't put it on it, but Iris uses an online educational resource. And so you see that kind of slash of the $sign, which means that there's no textbook cost. When you kind of go into this, let me go here. Go into Iris, and then we go here and we look at textbook. I'm hoping this is following me. It will tell you free open educational resources are available.
Yeah, I thought I had updated all of those. Apparently I missed one.
Yeah, or it just didn't get on. So OER, I'll put an online education resource because that's a very specific term.
Yeah.
The other thing that we use to call it is zero textbook. So because sometimes there's these sparkles. Oops. Yeah. Sorry. Zero textbook cost is another way that you can see that designator. Okay. All right. Any other questions you have for us?
Is that clearer, Zainab, now, how that works?
Yes, thank you for the information.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Hamida.
Yeah, my question is about applying for permit as a teacher. Because for a student that who already done with a 321 and full lab hours, yeah.
So Hamida, on May 18th, which is a Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Is that what it is, Iris? 4 to 6 p.m. Or it might be 4 to 5 p.m. I think is what it is. From 4 to 5 p.m. on our campus, I'm putting this in the chat for you. We're having a permit session. And that's when we'll go over the child development permit. And this is through the Commission on Teaching Credential and how to get you prepared for that and your next steps, because you're going to need transcripts and some of those other things that aren't quite ready because you need to finish the semester in 321. And then at that point, that will be the first meeting of a permit session. And then we'll have some summer ones once we reasonably can expect that you'll have transcripts by that time, and then we'll help you submit that information.
Thank you so much.
I'll put what that is.
I have another question. Does the student need to have a high school diploma to get the teacher assistant permit?
Yeah, so this has come up before. It came up earlier today. You don't need to, in order to enroll in community college, you do not need to have a high school degree. I will say that, like, in terms of placement, there was a time where we really leaned on it, even though you didn't need to have a high school diploma. You needed to, we had needed to see what English or math or things like that. But those days, especially on the English, we've had some legislation where everybody moves into the basic English level course. Although we do really suggest, as Olga is kind of supporting a number of classes over the summer, that students who for English is their second language, they have some basic that will not frustrate them when they're taking courses, right? They have a basic skill set in English.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My question has two bases. So I worked in San Juan district as a teacher assistant.
Awesome.
So I had 2 semesters of early child education. So I think I need 2 more. How much is going to work, or how much is going to promotion for my work? And how the next is my questions about the percentage. If my percentage is lower in my semester, can I receive the certificate?
So tell me what you mean by percentage.
It means my grade will be lower.
Okay. Yeah, so all of our classes do need to be passed with a grade of C or better. So that's, you know, if you're talking about percentage, that's 70% or better, right? And that's like the basis of our degrees, because many of our courses are transferable. And so we want to make sure that all students have that competencies. That's also in order to get a child development permit. That's also the criteria for the child development permit is a grade of C or better in coursework. And then I think what you said also was that you maybe do you have 12 units, 16 units, something like that for your 2 semesters?
I thought that is 6. I'm not pretty sure.
Okay.
But I will see, but I'm not sure how many I got it.
Yeah, so if you have 6 units, you definitely want to get a minimum of 12, ideally the 16 that will get you that certificate, and then will also qualify you for the first child development permit. And then we always suggest that students kind of work their way from there, because our certificates and degrees are stackable, meaning you start with this one and then you add to it and you add to it. And some of our certificates will add in like a specialist in school age or a specialist in infant toddler, some of those things, and they kind of grow with teachers, because we know that teachers start at different levels and they need additional support as they go along.
How many semester can I get, like the total?
So it kind of depends on your pace that each student has. So if you're only doing 1 class a semester, it's going to take you quite a lot of semesters, right? If you're diving completely in and you're doing 12 or 15 semesters, right? Like you'll be out in with our highest degree would be 4 semesters. If you started from the very beginning, you have some ECE units, so that's going to move you along a little bit faster. But my guess is if you're working, you might not be taking 12 or 15 units at one time. Maybe.
Okay. Thank you so much. When I got all my semester, can I promote, or is there any beneficiary to get my degree in the same field?
I'm trying to, Iris, do you know the answer to that question?
We would probably need to take a look at transcripts and see you know, you've gotten some ECE units, but do you actually have enough to fit in the specific certificate range? And if you do, you're now talking about transferring to university to finish a degree in whatever your concentration is, either child development, early childhood education, education in general, since you're already working for the school district. So it would depend on where you want to aim yourself at that point. You know, now that you have these, where are you going with that? So that's another conversation that we would be happy to sit down and have with you.
Okay, because it works a lot for us. I got a lot of things and I get a lot of experience, and we're learning that gives a lot of experience for us, because the same field I worked and with a elementary school, and I also got this class. It works a lot for us to how to work with the kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No,
yeah, that's so important. I love when I see students who are, you know, either going right into program after education, or they're doing it with, right? Like those are usually the ones who are in Iris and my classes that are just, you know, today, that happened today, or last week, right? They're able to like not just give imaginary scenarios, but they're able to add some of the stories that they're living right now with children, or ask like, this has happened recently, I've never seen that, right? And we're able to have really great conversations within our classes about what's really going on with children and families and teachers.
Yes, exactly right. That gives a lot of good meat for us to be with the kids.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I will also add to that we can't underestimate those who are parents, you know, in different roles. They have a wealth of experience to bring also to our classrooms, right? Things that that many people, when they don't have children yet, are still learning. And so they're really, it's nice to have them in the class too, to be able to say, yeah, all that stuff you bought for the babies won't matter when you don't have any sleep, or, you know, we kind of give them the real story. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the answer.
Yeah.
I think Aaliyah has another question.
Oh, yeah. And then Haji, I saw that you unmuted. So after Aaliyah, I'll check in with you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, and my question is that you said we have taken 16 hours classes, yes? For the summer, for early child education.
So for
training,
this,
sorry, training.
So are you asking about the English language learning classes that are focused on early childhood, or are you asking for the units?
No, I'm asking about the training. You say that you have a training for summer, online training, and for 16 hours, the training. They prepare us for the class.
I think that sounds like Olga's class.
Olga, is it 16 hours? I'm getting a little
yes,
confused.
she said. Yes.
The ESL training?
Yes.
It will be for 4 weeks, and it will be the equivalent of about 6 hours a week, but it's fully virtual, so you do that work kind of at your own pace.
Okay.
Is there any certificate with that training, or just training?
Well, we'll give you a certificate of completion, but it's not necessarily a certificate that you can like go and get a job with. It's more like the certificate that you completed the training and you're ready to move on to ECE classes.
I want to know that it is the same class training that if we want to open the childcare and we take a training for childcare, safety as a life or something, some training we taken.
Yeah, so that's a different training, Olga. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in order to have a family childcare, the state requires that you have a basic number of hours in health and safety.
Health and safety, yeah.
I think that's what you're talking about. And then also they require like CPR and
CPR and first aid, yes.
Yeah, those are separate because they're specifically to license your home, just as if you're getting a family childcare license for your home, or if I were to open a center, I'd have different training that I have to do above and beyond like early childhood units. Those are,
thank you.
Yeah. That's kind of the basic minimum to make sure that children are safe within your family childcare home.
Yes, I want to know that it's the same or it's a different.
It's different. It's different. That.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Haji, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. First question is the May 18, the Child Development Information Session is online.
So it is on ground at our campus at Cosumnes River College in our instructional classroom, Child Development Center 126. So I think I put that in the chat, but that is on ground. And then our summer, like what that does in that permit, those are usually for our students who have completed our program or towards the end of our program, so that they can actually apply for a permit through the state of California, the California Commission on Teaching Credentialing. And then they get, it's so exciting because they are able to submit their paperwork, and then they're able to get their real certificate from the state of California that says that they qualify at multiple different levels as an associate teacher, as an assistant teacher, those sort of things, which are different than our degree certificates, just to be clear.
Yeah, okay. And I'm not sure I'm right or not. I heard that these students has to work somewhere, like volunteers sometimes, then they are eligible to step forward or to get the permit, something like that. Is this something like that? They have to work, volunteer in some schools or child care centers?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is what we call, there's a lot of different words for it. I often use the word practicum, but it also can be called clinical or clinical practice. So think about nursing, for example. Like if you had a nurse, you wouldn't want them just to be on books, right? Like, or just to be online classes or even in-person classes. You would want them to have been with patients, right? And been able to like start an IV or be able to like work directly with humans. And that's the same thing in early childhood. There's all of these ideas that you have and that you'll work with in early childhood. And the practicum courses give you the opportunity to try all those things out in a really well-supported classroom with a mentor teacher.
Is this a specific hours?
Yeah, it's towards the end of the coursework, and it's 3 to 3.5 hours, 2 times a week. And so that looks a lot of ways. At CRC, we're very flexible, meaning that at other campuses, it might just be the morning that students are scheduled and only Monday, Wednesday, or only Tuesday, Thursday. We work all throughout the day at different times so that we can kind of work with students and have it as little impact on their employment, on their other life responsibilities that they have. So it's quite a lot of work to put all those schedules together, but we've been able to successfully do that and get students that practical experience on top of all their responsibilities that they have as family members and as college students, and then also as employed students sometimes too.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sorry, which classes we need to take with ECE to get AA degree?
So to get the AA degree, let me see.
You want me to pull that one up?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure.
I'm going to get a sip of water and then maybe you can go over that a little bit.
Sure.
There's 2 different AA degrees that we have in early childhood. One is for transfer, and the other is what we call within resident, meaning that that some courses may transfer, but there's not a guaranteed transfer from the CSU. And what that means is that the transfer degrees, you're guaranteed to be placed in one acceptance into one CSU, and we find that Sacramento State will take most of our students. There's never been an impacted where they've been turned away for the area, but you can also go to other CSUs also.
May I share your Zoom? Okay. Let me grab that. I think I got the right one. Yep, I did. Okay. If you go into the school website and look under courses, you can find this section for early childhood education, and it gives a general overview of what we, our department and things like that. But it also gives you the degrees and certificates. And this is pretty well laid out, and under each one of these, this is the associate's transfer. If you see a T behind it, it's for transfer in early childhood education. For transfer, if you're planning on going on to a four-year university, you click here for degree requirements, and it'll unfold the courses that you need to take.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Jeanette has outlined a few of these already, and you'll see them here. 312, 314, 300 are what we call core. Here's your 320, which is that initial practicum course. Here's 326, the making the observation, we call it the observation course. And then you have some health and safety, you have some culture and diversity, and you have an advanced practicum option also. If you're looking to being the classroom teacher, not just an associate teacher in the classroom, but the classroom teacher, you're going to want to aim yourself toward these. That first certificate that she had in the slideshow took into consideration these first few courses right here. Then you build the rest of them on. This is why we call them stackable, because you can keep going. For each one of these, site supervisor, and each one of these has this drop-down menu here that you can open up. Obviously, if you're going to be a site supervisor, there's a lot more to it that you're going to want to take, but each one of these will outline it for you. You can get an associate's degree in early childhood education, and it has the degree requirements here. So for each of these areas, and they've got options. You can choose from different things that you might be interested in. For instance, if you wanted to do some sort of a specialization, here's the one for infant and toddler. Information down here. So infant care, infant toddler, so 330, 331. If you wanted, and possibly 402, which looks at infants with atypical development. We didn't really speak about children with special needs, but we can touch on those too. So for every level that you may want to look at, they're here and they're outlined, and you can see which ones of these classes specifically you are going to need to take to be able to unroll yourself into one of these programs. Thank you for putting those in. So yeah, that smallest certificate, get you started. Then you can keep building as you get in there and go, but you know what, I'm really interested in, I want to do infant toddler specialization. I want to do a special needs focus for what I want to do. I think I want to transfer to university and get a four-year degree and be the master teacher in a program. This is how you get started. This is how you start layering or stacking your classes so that you can do that. Did that help? That make more sense for you?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And of course, for these classes with other classes like math and physics, not physics, math, history.
Yeah, that was one of those things I was sharing with someone this morning. It's like people get all jazzed up about those ECE courses and take all the ECE courses. Well, if you're going to transfer, you still need those general ed. So you still got to take history and math and science and, English and all of those things also. And that is layered on also for you all who may be English language learners, getting up to that level where you can successfully complete those classes too. So yeah.
So how I know those classes, specific classes like history, how much math?
Well, now I'm going to refer you. You can always look in the catalog. The catalog will outline the basics. I would highly recommend you get in touch with a counselor and talk about an education plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the question I sort of wanted to approach here, Zainab asked, can every ECE student that received a permit work at CRC as a teacher assistant to practice, or does it have a limit? That's kind of what practicum allows you to do before you have the permit. Because if you took 320, and Jeanette, correct me if I'm wrong, and then came back and took 321, that actually, if you look at the permit matrix, covers some of the hours that they ask you to have in a classroom. They
Yeah,
haven't changed
so
that, have
our
they?
permit hours, what happens is when you complete 2 practicum courses, the 320 and the 321, which 321 we call our capstone, which is, you know, considered like our ending class. At the end of that, you'll have the minimum requirement for a 50 days of working with children. And that allows you to apply not just to our certificates that are at a college, but to the state of California, the Commission on Teaching Credentialing program, where you have a certificate there. And also something really exciting that's coming down right now is that there's a new credential coming out for preschool through 3rd grade. And they are taking the hours that students earn in those classes, in our ECE classes, towards a future credential in preschool through 3rd grade, which is super exciting that 200 hours will be accepted in that coursework, which is why we are so, that coursework is so important that you work with children, because there's a lot kind of hanging on it that students get credit for in multiple areas.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, there's also, I put a link to the program maps, but let me just screen share really quickly here. So I mentioned what program maps are, but if you arrive at our early childhood website using that link and you kind of scroll down, there's these things called program maps. And when you open them up, they come to those specific links that I gave you on the associate teacher, on the school age, right? Like some of those specialty. But when you open up this area, you'll actually get to see, like I'll click on it, what the suggested pattern is. So semester 1, semester 2. And we know that students sometimes aren't taking this many, or they could take more classes. And so they know kind of how how we progress through classes. I feel like we may have saturated them with information, so I just want to check in with people.
It's a lot. And while, as we said, we appreciate the zeal for ECE, you have to remember to round yourself in these things, because if you decide to go on and you want to do more, those other classes are going to be part of the requirements, and you don't want to put them off until, we've had students who have gotten all the way to the end, taken all of the ECE and go, yeah, I've got to spend the next 2 semesters taking math classes because I didn't take those. It's like, oh, yeah.
There is a little bit of a balance if you're going to be transferring on, but I will tell you that on the other side, our students who start in our program feel well nurtured. They're learning skills to be a community college student, right? And so a lot of times they get their feet wet in those early semesters, and then they're ready to take on some of those classes that they might feel challenging, right? ECE and math is always is often our students will avoid math, for example, but because they've learned how to be a student, it becomes more doable for them.
We just had a question pop in too. Aaliyah wants to know 50 hours as a volunteer.
Yeah, that's a student volunteer or a student intern. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because I was a volunteer for 1 year in elementary school.
Yeah, so there are requirements. So you have to be within the course at that time so that your faculty can provide oversight. For example, I've just finished all of my end of the semester observations of my work site, which meant that I was in and out of classrooms for the last couple weeks, seeing my students, giving them feedback, observing them. So they get faculty oversight, but also my students have a mentor teacher and they have to qualify. In terms of the teacher has to be a higher degree than what the study is happening so that they can provide really good support. Many of my students do complete that within their own work site, though. I try the best I can to make that work for them because I know that I don't want to take any income from them if I can.
Finish our study, and after that,
finish your study. Yeah, so many students will do that. Yeah, or they'll get a job within the program. They think they're going to wait till later, and then all of a sudden, they get a job. Because what you'll find is once you start getting ECE units, people will say, "Come work for us. Come work for us." Really quickly. They want our students.
thank you.
Mhm. Anything you want to wrap up with, Olga?
I think that's it. If anyone is interested in applying for that summer vocational ESL, and then also we have peer mentors who are able to help you apply to college, or if you already applied, then register for the ECE classes in the fall, help you with financial aid and things like that. Just let me know. I'll put my email in the chat. I'll put our refugees email in the chat because it goes not just to me, but to other staff members. So feel free to contact us. We'll help you get started. We'll help you continue. And then thank you, Jeanette and Iris, for your presentation.
Thank you. We hope to see you all in classes. Iris and I love to see the students who we had the pleasure of being able to present to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thank you.